Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the year-end processing guide review. Your instructors for today are Stephanie Raven and myself, Cindy Stevens, from the Client Services and Education team. As you joined us today, all phones were placed on mute to eliminate any background noise and interruptions. To facilitate answering questions you have during the broadcast, we will be using the chat feature. You can find the chat feature by hovering over the bottom of the presentation screen. You should then see the toolbar with a series of icons. Click the one that says chat, then select to host and type your questions. Questions may be sent in at any time. We'll be stopping throughout the presentation to answer these questions. With that, we're going to get started.
Here is the link for the 2018 year-end guidebook. We want to state this year is going a little differently, and we will be printing the guide later on in November, and they will reach the credit unions earlier in December. For now, you can access the guide through www.cuanswers.com under the Resource tab and the CU-based reference under Y for year-end. Please note that your page numbers may differ from those in the PowerPoint that we will be referencing depending on the version of the year-end processing guide, online or self-processor. We are referencing the online version. As a note, we will reference individual deadlines as we go through the booklet today. Self-processors, we will be referencing your version towards the end of the session. And like I said before, the printed versions will be delivered sometime in the beginning of December. As we are going through the year-end guidebook during the presentation, we will be referencing, like I said, the corresponding page numbers. I would like to start today's session with the what's new for 2008, and that is on 2018, and that is on page 4. The first item that's new for 2018 is the HSA limits announced by the IRS for the 2019 year. Individuals will move up from $3,450 to $3,500, and the families will move up from $6,900 to $7,000. CU Answers will not, the next new item, CU Answers will not be supporting the postponed contribution code from the 5498B form, the IRA contribution information. Credit unions are required to handle these codes manually. And also, as a reminder, tool number 822, the Smart Operator, the daily ops log. That contains detailed information as it relates to the data center tax processing that Bug wants to get on.
That Bug wants.
Simply access the tool and use the process lookup button to select data center tax processing to view processing date and time information for various tax events. Page 63 in the year-end processing guide will show you more information. For those of you who are familiar with the tool number 822 Smart Operator, this is what shows our daily processing. So ACH and share drafts, anything that's data processed, we show the log on when it's received, when it's processed. So we will also now include tax information. The important yearly reminders, because our operations department is staffed 24/7 and much of our work is done during the overnight hours. If the deadline is November 5th, that means that your task must be completed before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 5th. As always, the early bird gets the worm, so we want to make sure that you understand our deadline is 8 p.m. on every deadline day. If by chance you get it done early, great, that's what we want you to do. As with every year, deadlines are tight. Beginning of the year tax file verification report should be reviewed on January 2nd. You're going to find that you may have only 1 to 2 days to get these verifications done once end of year happens. Okay. To ensure these deadlines are met, please see page 41 for reference. As a reminder, CU Answers does not verify dividend rate changes for your credit union. As with every month, it is the credit union's responsibility to keep an eye on any rate changes you schedule by verifying the new rates are in place the morning after the scheduled change date. Rate changes are processed at the end of the day. We are aware that the 1099-C instructions have changed for tax processing as they relate to codes for various fields on the 1099-C form. The system is not designed to allow for any code you've entered, so be sure to verify against the 1099-C instructions for further details.
I think you said that wrong.
I did?
Yes, the system is designed to allow
any code. It is not. Geez.
Yes, you did.
Just kidding. The system is designed to allow for any code you've entered, so
whatever you put there is what's going on that form.
So we want to be extra careful.
If your IRA program is a census administrator, it is always your responsibility to contact the census and tell them exactly how and what data will be reported to them this year. Even if CU Answers is sending the data for you, a census will ignore the data unless they hear from you. And you need to tell them what to do with it. Or, excuse me, they do charge a fee if they have to make special correction arrangements after the fact. If you have chosen to archive your tax forms on your in-house eDoc server, please contact eDoc to make sure your server is ready for them. If you're an Imaging Solutions release management client, no further action is necessary. Operations will work with eDoc and Imaging Solutions to set up the appropriate programs and make arrangements for the data to be downloaded. Tax files used in combined state filing will use the primary address in order to capture the correct state tax. Remember that it's always your responsibility to inform CU Answers if your state has a special rule. Form 1098 mortgage interest statement has a field for number of mortgaged properties. This is the number of properties in excess of one that secures a single mortgage. The deadlines noted in this guide are critical to proper processing of your member data. CU Answers will be adhering very strictly to the deadline dates stated in this guide. If data is received late or needs to be redone, your credit union may incur a $100 fee. Do not wait until the last minute to assign these important tasks to appropriate staff.
That's why you're going to hear us repeating yourself
over and over.
Because we don't want you to get a fee.
We recommend you share the timeline with everyone involved in any of the processes.
Oh. I'm just jumping ahead. The tax form summary and tax form pricing is located on page 10 and 11 of the online year-end processing. Some key points here are the tax reference section shows when forms are due to members and IRS. Alternate addresses will be used on printed forms and the member's name will come from the master record. DBA names are never used on tax forms for IRS processing regardless of whether your CU does print DBA names on other correspondence. And for the 2018 pricing for archived tax forms on CD-ROM, a single copy is a $50 processing fee plus $10 per CD-ROM, and if you need any additional copies, they are also $10.
Oh, deadline date.
Woohoo, here we go. The first deadline has passed, but I know we've done very good to put an alert out on our alerts page, as well as contact the credit unions whose screens were not filled out. The tax instruction screen needed to be filled out by 11/5. And I have to say, everybody's filled out correct, locked in, everyone's good, and it's not even the middle of the month yet.
And those screens are locked now, so if you have to find you do need to change something, you do need to call us at CU Answers Client Services so we can get it unlocked for those changes.
That is correct, and unfortunately, that may also incur a $100 fee. The statement message instruction deadline is still the same as every month. It is 12/10. However, we would like to remind you of that 12/10 deadline. It's also crucial because not only do we require the deadline here at CU Answers also has a deadline to get our information to Sage. So that's why we put a deadline on those statement message instructions. Those can be updated in tool number 914. Remember that if you are using statements for the substitute 1099, IRS regulations state that no other marketing materials are allowed in the statement envelope, including newsletters. No marketing messages are allowed on the statements themselves, and any further instructions on that can be found on page 12.
We have a question.
We do. Where is that 2018 guide for online CUs? I can only find ones for 2017 or the 2018 for self-processing. So I know that it's under reference or it's under resources reference, and
it's way at the very bottom under Y. For year end.
Yep, and I want to say we also, and you know what, Brad, I can actually send you a link for that document as well. So
yep. Okay. Some paper and write it down.
We will send you the link so you have the current copy. I'll send it right to you. All right, we got it?
Yep, got it.
First thing I'm going to repeat is that the detailed information regarding the printing of substitute 1099 INT information on the member statements can be found on the bottom of page 12, along with the statement instruction or the insert instruction.
Points to remember. Remember that the IRS regulation prohibits the use of any marketing-related messages on the statements. If you're going to use substitute 1099 INTs, either clear all the messages or insert generic text only about the substitute 1099 INT, and you can find that on page 15. If you're using a statement printer other than Sage Direct, you need to verify that they will process a substitute 1099 INT form. Next.
I had to find my mouse.
Your envelope must be marked important tax information enclosed. Sage Direct clients, you don't have to worry about that. They do all of that. Credit unions who use a different statement processor should contact Operation and Extension 132 for coordination of that.
For our credit unions that converted in 2018, your credit union may not use your year-end statements as substitute 1099s. This does not come as a surprise for them because we've been talking to them for the last couple weeks regarding their first year-end with CU Answers. So the reason behind that is because statements are produced immediately after year-end processing. There would be no time to verify the 1099 INT information before it is delivered to the members. And that is one of the things we require with all of our credit unions, but because our credit unions that converted, this is their first year end, they may not,
they may or may not.
They may or may not need assistance, and I know they've signed off on their information, but there are things that they may have questions on that we give them a couple of days after year end to verify. So we're just giving them a little extra time before they would, if they found anything wrong, and would have to retract those statements. And by not using substitute 1099 information on your statements, your credit union has extra time to review your member data.
We have another question.
All right. You say to clear the message, but shouldn't we replace it with the verbiage about year-end message, meaning keep the statement for your year-end record? Yes, I believe the last slide, Cindy did suggest that if you needed to put a message or wanted to put a message, that you would put a message referencing the 1099 INT or the year-end statement. So if you don't want to say anything, you cannot put a message on there at all. But if you want to put a message on there, it has to say something about the year-end or the 1099 INT substitute.
And I think a little further in our presentation, we give them some reference points to those messages as well, don't we?
Yep. Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
And I do know that we do have credit unions that are audited at the end of the year, so they have a different message they have to put as well.
Correct.
All right, you're up.
1099s, just a couple of reminders about how statements will be generated and whether closed memberships received a printed statement. Members with two separate memberships using the same Social Security number will receive a separate 1099 statement for each membership they have. So it's based on the account number. Statements are generated for active accounts and accounts that were closed within the final statement period. In other words, the only people who receive a year-end statement will receive, only people who receive a year-end statement will receive the substitute 1099 INT.
That's like a tongue twister.
It was. Any memberships that were closed prior to the final statement period and non-members with reportable savings bond interest will receive a standard 1099 INT form. This is subject to normal printing fees for laser tax form. 1099s will be generated for all memberships, even if the dividends were zero.
For credit unions offering e-statements, beginning on page 16 and continuing through page 18, you will need to make sure that the members understand that they will not receive any forms in the mail, that they must view their year-end statement via online banking in order to see the 1099 INT information. If you would like further information in regards to any general rules and specifications for substitute 1099 form or 1098 and any other form listed here, you can go to www.irs.gov. Continuing points to remember: the information printed on the member's statement will be for 1099 INTs only. Therefore, the member will receive a separate printed and mailed documents for 1098 and 1099 forms. One item your member service team needs to be aware of is that some members will have a separate page printed for the 1099 INT information. The reason for this is because the tax information must all print on the same page of the member's statement. So if you're running into an issue, or if we're running into a generation where half of it, if it's half a page, we're going to skip to the next page so you get a full page of that 1099 information. Oh, here's another deadline page. If your credit union has begun signing members up for e-statements through online banking, and you also plan to use statements as substitute 1099 INT forms, there are a few special tasks which must be performed to comply with IRS guidelines and ensure that your members understand how their tax information is being reported to them. You should be sending a preliminary alert message in November or December. So basically, instead of a statement message, we suggest maybe sending a member connect message out there just to say, hey, heads up for your year-end information, your 1099s are coming e-statement way. You should modify e-statement notification messages for December statements during December, And both tasks can be done in 262 Configure Monthly e-Statement email. That's really, well, I guess. I was gonna say, it's not like a big deadline. It's just, hey.
No, and just say, hey, don't forget to do this.
Yeah, so we didn't mean to scare you. Also, additionally, you may wish to send out an It's Me 247 message via tool number 497. And this feature is to send email messages to your members regarding the tax information. Yep. Recipient information that has been taken from the back of the standard 1099 INT form can be found on page 18 as an example. Sage Direct uses this same text for the instructions that will be inserted with your statement. So they will be using this for what we show in the book is what they're going to be using. I was going to say that backwards. So confuse everyone. That they'll be putting their example in the book.
Right. We got 2 more questions,
okay.
So I'll go ahead and answer those real quick.
Perfect.
First of all, yes, this is being recorded, so this video will be presented out for your review once it's gone through what we call our quality control, and then they'll release it and it'll be on video on demand. The next question is, will we get a report of those 1099 forms? Yes, I believe you do, as long as you've requested it in that tax information screen that was filled out in November. Going on, the end of your statement audits. If your credit union is using Sage Direct for statements and has an audit run planned, you not have to order special envelopes. You need to contact Jennifer Zemelis at Sage Direct no later than 12/21. There's her phone number, and your insert due date is 12/27. I think I got all that.
All right, I do. I think you did. All right, just to catch everybody up, we are on page 23, and page 23 is setting your 2019 holidays. And if you're looking at the year-end guide, isn't this the one where it was labeled 2018?
Yes, I think it was.
There's a typo in the booklet, and unfortunately, we did not get it in time for, yeah, sure.
For the
printers. So
yep.
We had to make the correction here and just let everyone know that that is a typo. These are really the 2019 holidays.
I believe Stacy was going to fix the online booklet.
Oh, sweet.
So if you download it from our website, it'll be corrected. But when you get your printed book, suddenly it'll be uncorrected.
Oh, it's an electronic version.
Yeah.
You can set your credit union's business days using this tool, and it's tool number 243. One reason you might use this is if your credit union is closed for a day other than a federal holiday. So if you are closed on Christmas Eve, or you are closed the day after Christmas, or you're closed New Year's Eve, those are days where the Fed is open. So that's something that you will need to fill out on that tool. The process days field are used for end of day and beginning of day processing, so you should not make any adjustments to these fields without contacting CU Answers first.
And we've had a whole bunch of questions jump through here.
All right.
Might have to go up a little bit.
Yep, okay, right here I think is where. If we are not using the year-end statement for completing the 1099, will we still produce 1099 with zero interest? We're going to talk about that in the book, but I know that, yes, we are going to generate 1099s for zero interest. I'm almost positive.
For printed?
Yeah.
Papers?
I'll touch it, because I remember we go through this, and I think you read it, because I was reading it while you were.
Right.
So we will definitely point that out, Gail, when we get to it, but I know we talk about it in this presentation. And then Mitchell, you had asked if we will be able to get just a PDF with the information, and we're going to write, Mitchell, we'll write your name down and we'll see what we can do for you. Because we don't have like two separate PDFs, we just have one, and I just want to make sure that we don't have an issue with sending this to everyone. And then I guess we're still, I'm wondering where, if we're not telling them the right place where the year-end guide is, because
I don't know, because that's where I pulled mine from.
okay. So Brad,
we'll send you the link, Brad.
Yeah. And then we'll make sure it's the right way, and the right way we're telling everybody too.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think
I believe we did this slide.
Okay.
We're moving on.
Oh, real quick, because I know the answer for this. It says, will the financial institution be responsible for changing the HSA contribution limits for 2019, or will CUA do that for us? And we do that through the program. We update that.
CU Answers does it for you. And we're going to get to that, more information on that in just a few moments.
And real quick, how do we know how do we know if we are online or self-processing? If CU Answers processes all your daily processing, ACH, anything like that, you are definitely online with us. Our self-processors are exactly that. They're self-processing credit unions. They run their end of day, beginning of day, all of that by themselves. So that is how you know if you are online or self-processing. Okay. Next.
There you go.
All right.
We want you to verify your state ID for us, and that's in Tool 202. And when you go in there, if you just hit enter, you'll see the following screen. And the state ID, do you want to put your cursor there?
I will.
Show them. Simply access the tool and enter the correct state ID.
Here, I got to do it on this screen.
Oh, yes, you do. Thank you. I'm like, where are you at?
Magic.
And that's all there was on that screen.
All right.
Deadline.
If you haven't noticed already, we have specific displays of how our deadlines look they stick out, I guess, is the best way to say. So on page 25, verifying loan categories for 1098 reporting. The due date to have your loan categories verified to make sure everything is correct is December 7th. And again, December 7th at 8 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, thank you. That would have been, that would have been.
We don't want you to be in Mountain Time and think, oh, I've got 2 more hours.
Right. Thank you for reminding me of that.
No worries.
So page 25 through 28 include all of the instructions you need to complete this verification. Page 25 gives an example of the second page on the loan category configuration, which is 20458, and I know the shortcut, which is LNCATG, where the system uses the flag to determine whether or not a 1098 form should be generated for a particular loan. So if you note, if you look, noted, the Send 1098 tax form flag will be checked on those loan categories that will report, or that the interest needs to be included in the 1098. However, it's a little trick with that. You also have to have the flag checked on the member record as well. So those two have to coincide. If you decide, oh shoot, I have a loan category where this flag needs to be checked, you need to contact client services, because we need to make sure that the information is also on the account. So it's possible that somebody accidentally unchecked that loan category, but the members' flags are okay. But it's also possible that right after last minute, somebody checked that and said, you know what, we need to report this, and now we need to make sure your members' flags are also checked.
Correct.
So that's kind of a heavy note that we want to make sure. Not only do we want to bold the deadline is before December 7th, but we want to make sure those flags are in sync.
Correct.
And remember that the 1098 forms are not sent for the total loan interest if the amount is less than $600, unless when you went into your tax form handling instructions and you told us to generate a 1098 form for less than $600, and that was 20916. As of right now, or I should say November 5th, as Cindy stated earlier, if you need to make any changes, please contact CU Answers. Also, another note, there are not 1098-E forms for student loans. Student loan category should have the process type of P, which automatically produces the 1098-E. Do not check the 1098 flag on these categories. So just to reiterate that for those of you that do student loan categories, your student loan category will generate the 1099-E because of the process type. No boxes should be checked.
Correct.
All right, Cindy, back to you.
All right. So some of the highlights from pages 24 through 27 are on the screen. The 1098 form is not printed or reported to the IRS for loans less than $600. Again, unless you've checked that box in the tax form handling screen. You should not have this flag checked on your student loan categories if this flag is not for, because that 1098 flag is not for 1098E.
Right. And we repeat ourselves multiple times throughout this presentation because these are just very important points.
And we don't want you to get it wrong. So we're just going to say it over and over again.
We say it in our sleep even.
Broken record. To make it easy to verify all of your loan categories for the 1098 form flag, you can use Loan Category Configuration Report. That's tool number 655. Page 26 gives a really nice example of the report and indicates on there exactly which field you're looking for. There's a special note also at the bottom of page 26 for 1098 reporting for rewritten loans that you'll want to read if you rewrite loans. Page 27 takes you through all the steps of how to combine interest from a closed loan to a rewritten loan onto the new loan. Further instructions on how to record data such as mortgage points is also listed on page 27. Remember that you can enter the data for the current tax year at any time, even prior to December 31st. Any final adjustments must be completed before the January 4th deadline in order to ensure that forms are correct for your members. Page 29, updating tax file data. If you're using substitute 1099 INTs, you must have your tax file updated by December 31st of this year. If you're not using substitute 1099 INTs, you have until January 4th to complete your update.
There's a first repeating of this one. Obita, saying this again, I feel.
Saying it again. At least.
Right.
Pages 29 through 32 give you detailed information as some very helpful screenshots that will help you update your tax files. We do recommend that you print a final copy of the 1099/1098 tax information report after all changes are made. This is using tool 1014 after the year end. You can update information for the 2018 tax year even before December 31st. During year-end processing, the system will add any additional amounts to whatever you entered manually. If you make changes after your tax file deadline, corrected paper forms must be generated by your credit union and sent to your members. Sorry.
That's all right. Don't cry.
I'm sorry. For historical records, we recommend that you print a final copy of the 1099/1098 tax information report. Oh, there's another repeat right in the same screen.
I know. Well, we don't want them, you know.
I know. I don't want you to forget. Do it. Do it.
And And for those that didn't print the guide yet,
That's right.
repetitive.
Updates to the member tax file are performed using Tool 899. If you had an account that was closed during the year and you need to update the dividends paid, this needs to be performed after January 1st. On page 30, it shows you illustrations on how to update the shares and IRA shares, certificates, regular loans and line of credits, online credit cards, and mortgage loans. If you use a print vendor, other than Sage Direct for your tax forms, the file they receive will contain the data, but they will need to change their programs in order to be printed. We'll be sending all printed vendors the new file specifications, but you'll need to contact your vendor for details on what their plans are. Deadline.
Page 33 notes another deadline. See, now we're starting to state it.
Yep.
For verifying your share and certificates. The deadline again is December 7th for online clients and before December 31st for self-processors. Again, when a deadline is stated, we are referring to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Before the tax file is created during year-end processing, it is important to verify that all products are flagged correctly to ensure the correct accounts are included in the 1099 INT reporting. You will print 2 reports to accomplish this. Use 20635 and 680. Pages 35 through 33. Oh, I said that backwards. Holy cow.
Read backwards.
Pages 33 through 35 give a nice screenshot of both the category configuration as well as the report. They even indicate where to look on the reports for the report to IRS flags. There is an important message on page 35. If the settings for your share or certificate products are incorrect and CU Answers must run your forms again, there will be a fee charge for time and materials. Page 35 describes how you can handle your credit union's account. If you do not want the dividends earned to report to the IRS, make sure that the account has been updated in 2015 and 20 number 20. For the foreign citizen flags, it's in 2015, oops, sorry, Cindy, and the dividend post code is in 20 number 20.
Good job.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah,
we got
more questions.
I don't want to go too far out, so that's, yeah, we can. So every year, many of our members call us saying they didn't receive their 1098 or 1099. What is the best way to give them a copy after this? We do have, first of all, we do have the tax info on each account inquiry screen. So we do have that tax info, but I believe, and correct me, excuse me, correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, but they have to go out and get a form from the IRS.gov
and fill it in
and
correct it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. We do not have copies of those. We do not supply copies.
Is a copy of the form on the discs that they get?
They may. Do you have your
yeah,
year-end guide?
I have to get it.
All right. So you get that. Well,
will get that.
We're going to come back to that question. And it says, how will we enter any adjustments for term shares to allow for what would be added at the end of the month? It says, how will we enter any adjustments for term shares to allow for what would be added at the end of the month? And is it at the end of the December? I'm not sure I follow that question. I mean, I understand how we enter any adjustments. I'm not following that question. Cindy, do you know what she's talking about, the term shares?
Well, term shares are usually certificates, but I don't know why you would be allowing anything if it's going to add.
We have to have all adjustments by 12.
That's if you're stating that the adjustments have to be done by 12/7. That's if you have to adjust the file, you need to have those adjustments done by 12/7. We will already take into consideration when you add your term shared, let's say dividends. Once those are added, we will go ahead and add those to whatever you have adjusted.
Do you want me to, isn't the last page where we talk about that?
I think so.
For online clients and before
yeah.
verifying your sharing.
It's just that, it's an adjustment. It's not what the system is already going to process.
Because those will process, yeah, it's anything that we're speaking of, any adjustments previous months. And I'm
Correct.
looking at Jody responded and said a copy of the 1098 and 1099 are on CUSE by under the member statement. But I think you've got to ask for that, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. If you contacted Imaging Solutions or eDoc, if you have an eDoc server, they should be out there in CUSE by. Thanks, Jody.
Mm-hmm. But if you have not requested a copy, those will not be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
What is on that screen though? Is that something that do you have a copy of that screen, Cindy?
The tax form handling instructions. I was looking for the page.
Oh, nope, you're good. We're just confirming that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, tax forms. You could, if you've requested a copy of the tax forms, they will be on that CD as well.
Okay.
But I think the easiest way is the way Jody stated. You know, have them downloaded into CUSE by, and then the members can actually go out and get their own copy through It's Me 247 under their documents.
Right. And if you don't have the contact to Imaging Solutions, if you want to contact client service, we can get that for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to do that.
I don't think we need to break for questions. We just answered them.
Right. So you're up.
36 has 2 deadlines regarding your accounts payable vendor. We're moving on to accounts payable. Yay. The first deadline refers to verifying the flag. Create a Form 1099 MISC year end. This must be done by December 7th for online clients. Our self-processors have until December 31st. The second deadline refers to verifying the previous year 1099 MISC amount, and this should be done between January 1st and January 4th of next year, 2019. If you wish to produce a 1099 MISC miscellaneous income forms for your accounts payable vendors, verification is needed. This will ensure that the system calculates the amount paid to the vendor for the year and places it in the previous year 1099 MISC amount field on the vendor record during the year-end process. Page 36 through 38 gives you clear instructions as well as tool numbers, screenshots, and definitions of the fields you should be checking. If your credit union plans on making rate changes at the year end, page 39 also describes the steps that need to be taken if you'll be changing your rates at year end. It is your credit union's responsibility to verify that the change did occur as expected. You'll do this by looking at your rates on the morning after the scheduled change. CU Answers year-end teams will not be looking at your rate changes as part of our verification process. To verify your rates, run the Share Dividend Configuration Report from Tool 680. As a reminder, rate changes occur at end-of-day processing.
I'm not going, I don't want to go further yet. Just because Kathy had a question about the 1099 miscellaneous forms map. Those are by us, as long as that flag is checked, correct?
Correct.
Yep. So as long as the flag is checked on the accounts payable vendor, then we will generate the 1099 form.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I thought I'd give you a little break.
Thank you. More deadlines, yay! 2 more reminders. For the annual statement, online credit clients, your statement message needs to be updated by December 10th, and that's in Tool 914. And also, your inserts must be delivered to Sage by December 27th.
We don't get tired of hearing ourselves talk.
No, and we'll say it again.
Yeah. Yes, we will.
Continuing on to page 40 and 41 with the annual statement preparation. Remember, all members will receive a statement regardless of activity. To facilitate this for our online clients, we may temporarily modify your normal quarterly statement code instructions. Although, as we were talking about this, we realized that all our credit unions give all open members a statement every quarter. So we're going to do the same.
Yeah.
Self-processors, directions for your statement configurations will be later in the class when we get to self-processing. Bless you.
Thank you. All right. We are now on page 42, beginning of year. Oh, we've crossed over. So beginning of year tax file verification report. When beginning of year is run on January 1st, a series of reports are produced automatically. These reports are used by our year-end verification team to ensure that the tax records for 2018 were created correctly. These reports will also be archived in CU SPI under the miscellaneous category. I believe previous years we have stated that they're in the end of month category, but they are truly this year in miscellaneous. Page 42 and 43, a breakdown of these reports as well as what should be verified on each report. Back to you.
If your credit union is using a census administrated and you have also made arrangements for a census to provide duplicate fair market value to your members, CU Answers will send this file per their deadline. Remember that if your IRA program is a census administered, it is your responsibility to contact at census and tell them exactly how and what data will be reported to them this year. Even if we're sending the data for you, a census will ignore data we send them unless they have instructions from you on what to do with it. Also remember, a census will charge your credit union a fee if they have to make special correction arrangements after the fact. If your credit union is self-administered, the fair market value will be reported on your year-end member statements.
And we want to make sure, I know it sounded like Cindy, she's emphasizing that because it is true. I feel like sometimes it's not like, I don't want it to feel like a threat, yeah. But it is true because the census is very hard on if they get a file and they don't know what they're supposed to do with it, they're not going to touch it.
Yep, they won't touch it. And if they have to change things after the fact, they will charge you. And I just don't want you to get that.
No.
I kind of made it sound like the fair market value is only going to be reported if you're self-administered. Mm-hmm. That's not correct. The fair market value is going to be on everybody's year-end statement.
Right.
Kind of worded that wrong.
I think I know what you meant, but I've been reading this so much.
We've been doing this so much. If your member has an existing IRA or HSA at the end of this year, CU Answers will automatically create the 2019 balance file and set limits as published by the IRS, which we referred to at the beginning of this presentation. If you have members with special limits for 2019, you can maintain them anytime during January. On the bottom of page 45, note the new limits for HSA accounts for 2019. These have changed to, again, $3,500 for single and $77,000 for family. If you have individuals, again, with special circumstances and their limits need to be different than what the IRS states, You can update those 2019 records after the end of year.
Next,
Your turn.
yay! My favorite part.
I like GL too.
Next, we move on to the General Ledger year-end closing instructions. On page 46 through 50, this section covers the closing of your income and expense General Ledger accounts. There are detailed instructions, and I think it's either 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 that your credit union can follow. Steps 3, 4, 5, and 6 describe the process for closing your General Ledger. If you follow the monthly closings for your General Ledger, it's exactly the same, just a few extra boxes that you're going to check when you're in there. But there are a few other steps, like making your year-end entry. If you would like CU Answers, SRS bookkeeping team to close your books for you, look for more information coming soon. This is recommended for our clients that converted to CU-based during 2018, but as we talked to one of our clients earlier today, I feel like our instructions are so easy to follow that if you do decide that you want to close them yourself, that is fine. SRS Bookkeeping will offer assistance as well, and this client service team can help with that also. All right.
Oh, we got another question.
Will the new limits include the catch-up limits as well?
No, we simply reset the 3,500 and the 7,000. Anything that are catch-up or anything, you have to go in and automatically change after the first of the year.
All right. Back to verifying the IRA and HSA balance file, the deadline to verify the 1099 IRA and HSA balance file distributions is 1/4/2019 before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the IRA HSA balance file contributions for the 5498 will need to be verified between the dates of 4/15 and 4/18 before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Verifying the IRA balance file begins on page 51, and verifying the HSA balance file begins on page 54. The IRA and HSA balance files contain IRA HSA totals by base account. These are ongoing files, which are updated as transactions are posted to the IRA or HSA account. Unlike the tax file, which is generated from member account files, the IRA or HSA balance file is an active file that is affected by each IRA or HSA transaction. Per CU Answers documentation, your credit union should be already verifying the IRA and HSA balance files on a regular basis. We talk about this every year, and we suggest that you should be verifying them on a monthly or quarterly basis, just so it's not such a large task at the end of the year. Literally, you guys have, if you choose to start on the 1st, you have 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Or if you're not open on the 1st, you have the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Or I'm sorry, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Yeah.
So while we understand that this is a lot to verify, we want you to think about maybe doing this monthly or quarterly, so you won't have so much to do right at the end of the year. And most of our credit unions announce either monthly or quarterly based on the number of IRAs.
And just because we say it like 6 times during these presentations.
Right, and I think
you should be doing it.
I think we even talk about it with our new clients and transition calls.
Yeah.
So there's a very nice illustration that describes how IRA transactions update the IRA balance file when they process on page 51. It's like a little chart of when it starts and how it ends. To verify the IRA balance records, you will print the Verify IRA Balance Report located on tool number 942. This option creates 2 reports. One is the LIRA-VR, and the other is the LIRA-VR3. Those reports will be your verification reports. And to verify the HSA balance records, you will print the Verify HSA Balance Report located on tool number 941. And this option creates report. It creates report LHS AVR.
I just think we kind of should mention that the tool 942 and 941, these are create those reports, but those reports are exception reports. If you don't get anything on your report, you have done a magnificent job of keeping your member files and IRA balance file in sync. So good job.
That is a good point. Yeah, it's like winning the lottery when you come up with a zero balance report or a zero report.
I know I've had a question recently that someone said, well, I ran that 942 and it's not showing me all my accounts. Well, we don't want it to.
And there are times where you're going to have an IRA that had to manually be fixed and it's not going to balance, so it will show on there. We see that a lot with credit unions that converted in the current year. After all the updates, you will want to rerun the reports again for your records. This is where we want to talk about getting excited for a zero report or a blank report. Please review this section as some information will need manual input. A special note, again, to the credit unions who converted in 2018, we talk about if your credit union converted to the CU-based platform during 2018, it may not have been possible to determine amounts to populate the IRAs or HSA bucket. So we talked about if it's possible that your IRA or HSA report is coming up with information and you know you fixed it, it's a possibility because of the conversion, we weren't able to get those to match. So we want you to go with correcting them on CU-based, and that's what's going to report to the member and to the IRS. Again, just hey, I'm saying this right, and then it comes up. So remember that whatever is showing in the IRA or HSA balance files, what will be reported to the members, even if it does not match the transaction history. But again, verification of this data is very important. It is very important because, like we said, as long as you know that it's correct, it may not be balanced to zero. So
yeah. If you've been on the system for years, those reports should match perfectly.
And you should, by the time you're done updating them, they should come out blank.
Blank, blank, blank. Love blank exception reports.
Yes, we do. Indeed. Back to you, Cindy.
Woo, more deadlines. Page 56 lists 2 more deadlines for verifying the tax file and printing of the 1099-1098 tax information report. The first deadline is to verify the tax file prior to printing the 1099-1098 forms. And this needs to be completed again by January 4th, 2019. The second, verify the tax file prior to reporting to the IRS should be completed by March 8th, 2019. And I feel like that's a new date for us to throw out there, March 8th.
That is, I haven't heard that date yet in this presentation.
Yep.
I've heard it before.
So remember, before reporting, it's March 8th.
New one, not December 7th, not January 4th.
March 8th.
We get excited when there's new dates in there.
Page 56 has a nice illustration that describes how the 1099 INT and 1098 forms obtain their information from the tax file. Instructions on how to print the 1099/1098 tax information reports are listed on page 57 and 58. And if you have any corrections that are needed to the tax file, please refer to page 59 of the year-end tax guide. That will show you how to do that. More deadlines. Woo!
Ooh, these are a lot of deadlines. We had a new one.
You got big ones.
We had a new one.
2.
Oh, yeah, 2. Using page 60 through 62 for online clients, see our deadlines on the screen. We will talk about self-processors during their discussions in a little later in the class. So we've got, we know of the January 4th deadline.
Yep.
We know the 5498 between 4/15 and 4/18. But now we're adding the 5498 ESA form need to be to members by 4/30/2019. And all 5498 reporting to the IRS needs to be there by May 31st. 1099-R and 1099-SA instructions are on page 60. If your credit union's IRA or HSA programs are administered by a census, you can choose to have CU Answers report the 1099-R distribution data. This is for HSAs and for non-education IRAs only. As stated on the previous slide, this is done in January. The 1099-Q information, which is for Coverdell education IRAs, cannot be submitted to a census via a file. Before CU Answers reports to a census, your credit union must perform a final verification of IRA distribution date. This is done by running the 1099-1098 tax information report on 21014. Updates are performed in 20896 and 20918. Pages 51 and 54 describe updates in detail. And as we mentioned earlier, your credit union should make sure that you tell the census exactly how and what data will be reported to them this year. Even if CU Answers is sending the data for you, a census will ignore. And in our notes, we have the word ignore in capital letters, so
yes.
Really serious. That they will ignore the data unless they will ignore the data that we send. I'm saying it multiple times because I just can't get through it. But you need to let them know. You need to give them instructions on what to do with it. Again, a census will charge you a fee if they have to make special correction arrangements after the fact. As a point of reference, 5498 and 5498 SA instructions are on page 61. The 5498 and 5498 ESA Coverdell are used to report IRA plan contributions. These forms will also include rollover IRA contributions and fair market value as of December 31st this year. Before CU Answers reports to a census, your credit union must perform a final verification of IRA contribution data. You will need to run the IRA Government Report 5498 form from tool number 398. Updates are performed using tool numbers 397 and 893. Please note that final adjustments for IRA and HSA balance files must be done before April 18th, 2019. If your CU reports to a census via paper, CU Answers will not be reporting to a census for you. You will still need to verify IRA and HSA balance information. Deadline, if you would like. Deadlines. You just like the deadlines.
Yes, I know. I like it. The booklet states the deadlines for self-administered credit unions. Final changes to IRA, HSA balance files are due between April 15 and April 18. CU Answers will submit 5498 ESA forms to members by April 30th. CU Answers will submit all other 5498 forms to members and all data to the IRS by May 31st. Any more questions?
We do have some.
We do have some.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
All right.
Go ahead.
What if the IRA account is closed prior to year end, but would receive a 5498, and now we need to change something? Will we be able to do so?
You will be able to do this so in the IRA balance file, not in the member record?
It's in the IRA balance file no matter what.
Yep.
So when you go into that tool to update, it asks you, doesn't it give you have to put in a closed month or sequence?
Right.
Something, yeah, you have to signify that it's a closed account.
Yep.
Then yes, so you are able to do that. All right.
Any further questions?
For those of you, we're not kicking you off, I promise. We want you guys to get your questions out there. The next part of the class, which will be about maybe 20 minutes,
15, 20
minutes, we're going to talk about self-processor information. So if you are not a self-processor, you may leave. If you would like to stay on, that's fine. If you would like to stay on because you may have other questions, feel free to do that as well. I think we'll give them a couple more minutes.
Yeah, we'll give you another minute or so you can type your questions in.
Good questions so far.
I know, they've been great.
And I bet you they all know the deadlines. We could probably give them a quiz. And they know the deadlines.
They could probably know them by heart. They don't even have to look at the checklist anymore.
Right? But it's important. Those deadlines are important. You want to move
Ready?
Yep.
Let's move on to self-processors. Self-processors have a few more things to know.
We would like to start the self-processor portion on page 42 through 47 with the annual statement preparation. Remember that all members will receive a statement regardless of activity. To facilitate this, you can go to OPER 10 and 205, OPER 10 and option number 5. This is the OPER menu, for those of you familiar. It's still the menu style. And you want to choose the member statement config and follow directions on page 43 through 46. If you are using 1099 INT on statements, this will result in a higher page count for your year-end statements. So if you are like our credit unions and verify page count, we go by page count and we consider that is higher. Automated end-of-year processing continues. For credit unions that process 7 days a week, 365 days a year, on Monday, December 31st, the end of day for December 31st, the end of month, so December 31st is the end of day, the end of month. Then they run beginning of year for 2019, and then beginning of day for January 1st.
Right.
That's a long day. But they're used to it.
Yeah.
All right.
But it's robot. Most of them are robot nowadays.
Yeah.
So it just does it.
Right.
You know, and last year we had 3 different scenarios because of the way New Year's fell. But because it's on Tuesday this year, everybody gets is there Monday.
Yes.
So if your credit union is supposed to be closed on December 31st, you need to let who is it that they talk to? Maybe Jack or
it's
client services. No, and we will get in touch with.
I believe it's still Laura.
Is that Laura?
Yeah.
Laura or one of them. No, so that they can do your robot job.
I think her name.
Over the weekend.
I think Laura's name's going to come up here.
I think you're right.
In a minute.
Yep.
Jumping to page 70 shows the procedures that must be followed before 1/4/2019 if using Sage Direct for your 1099, 1098 forms. 5498 forms must be submitted to Sage Direct by 4/18/2019. Please take note of information on page 70 on substitute 1099 INT forms for detailed instructions. If you use another print vendor other than Sage, that information will be found on page 71 and 72.
It is. I see it.
It is. I see it too.
Special note regarding alternate print vendors. If your credit union uses a third-party vendor to print your tax forms, refer to the booklet File Transfers, Downloading Data from iSeries to the PC for instructions on transmitting the file created in step 7. page 73 of your year-end guide. To your vendor. You must you must contact the vendor to determine the format required for submitting the tax form information for printing, as well as all appropriate deadlines. Please contact a client service representative if you need assistance in complying with your vendor's required format. If your vendor will not accept the IRS format, custom programming may be required.
Please check with them as soon as possible.
Yes. If your credit union has an in-house eDoc server, there is an option on the IRS Forms printing menu to download tax forms for archival purposes. You will first need to contact eDoc Innovations to ensure your server is ready to receive the data. Next step is to contact Laura O'Connor.
Told you your name was coming up. We knew it.
Yep, we said good enough.
I know. Laura O'Connor.
To ensure programming changes are made to accommodate this download. We do provide detailed steps for downloading on page 74.
If your credit union has requested tax form CD, there is an option on the IRS Forms printing menu to download tax forms to CU Answers CU-SPI server. If you have never requested a tax form CD, contact Laura O'Connor to ensure that the proper script changes have been made to accommodate your particular situation. This will ensure that when you use the CU-Base menu command, the system knows what to do and where to send the data. Please follow those steps on page 75. And Laura's name's all over this place.
Yes. Deadlines.
A census-administered 1099-R and 1099-SA should be reported to a census in January. It says in January 8th. I'm guessing on January 8th.
I would think.
2019 per their deadline. This is a deadline by a census. And instructions for that start on page 76.
Yes, they do. I'll do this one.
Sweet.
Regardless of who's printing your forms, your credit union is responsible for reporting data to the IRS. According to the IRS deadlines, data is reported directly to the IRS via the internet. The filing deadline is March 31st, 2019, with the exception of the 1099 MISC. Follow your instructions on page 78 and 79. Yep.
Deadline. The deadline for the 1099 miscellaneous is January 31st, 2019. Those instructions can be found page 80 to 81.
And it is.
Okay.
I'm following along to make sure that we got our pages ready.
Good to know we're not lying.
Yep. Final changes to the IRA HSA balance files must be done before 4/15. 5498 ESA forms to Sage Direct form printing by 4/18. All 5498 ESA forms must be sent to the members by May 2nd, 2019. All other 5498s to members by 5/31/2019. See those instructions on page 86 through 88. Ta-da!
That was it. There were a whole lot of deadlines for self-processors. We would like to, again to thank everyone for attending the self-processor portion of our year-end training review. We are going to stick around for a couple minutes for any questions for the self-processors.